Hello everybody! Today we're going to take a look at combining two skills that we've been working on. One which is rounding to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100, and one which is efficient adding and subtracting strategies. So today we're going to focus on addition, and we're going to think about how can we use rounding to help us get an estimate or a close guess to how much our answer should be when we're adding some numbers. So let's take a look at the example I have here. We have a word problem with Dean, and it says Dean reads for 361 minutes during week 1 of Floodbrook's readathon. He reads for 212 minutes during week 2 of the readathon. Okay, so we know he's read quite a lot of minutes in both weeks. Great job, Dean. And the first part A, says estimate the total amount of time Dean reads in the first 2 weeks by rounding. So what they mean is they want you to round both of those add-ins. We know that to find out how long Dean has read in both weeks, we're going to have to do 361 plus 212 and find our sum or our total. But they're asking us just to come up with an estimate, a close guess about how much. So we can do this in one of two ways. We can either make an estimate where we round each of these numbers to the nearest 10, or each of them to the nearest 100 and then add them. So we're going to do both, but when you do your example, you only have to pick one. So you get to decide if you want to be able to round to the nearest 10 or round to the nearest 100 to get your estimate. Okay, so we'll start with rounding to the nearest 10. So what we'll do is we'll take each of those numbers and round each number to the nearest 10 and then add them together. So my first number is 361. And if I want to round 361 to the nearest 10, I know that will be 360, because 361 is closer to 360 than it is to 370. Then I'm going to look at 212, and I know if I round that to the nearest 10, I would get 210. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add both of my rounded numbers to get my estimate. And I know that I can add my 300 and my 200, that gives me 500. My 60 and my 10 gives me 70, and I have no ones. So my estimate for how many minutes Dean read in the 2 weeks is 570 minutes. Remember, this isn't an exact answer here. This is an estimate. It's close. Now let's take a look at what happens when we round to the nearest 100. All right, we have 361, and we're going to round that one to the nearest 100. I'm going to round up to 400. And 212 is going to get rounded to 200. So if I add 400 and 200, I get 600. So if I choose to round to the nearest 100, my estimate is 600. So I have two different estimates, but they're pretty close, right? They're only 30 away. Remember again, these are estimates, not exact answers. Okay, this is close to how many minutes Dean read. Now, part B says to actually calculate the actual number of minutes that Dean reads in the first 2 weeks. So now we're actually going to solve this exact equation of 361 plus 212. And I'm going to use my partial sums to solve with equations. So I'm going to do 300 plus 200, and I know that's 500. Now I'm going to add my tens, 60 plus 10, that's 70, and 1 plus 2 equals 3 for my ones. And now I'm going to add all of those up together. 500 plus 70 plus 3 equals 573. This is my exact answer to how many minutes Dean reads in the first 2 weeks. So I'm going to put it right here so we can see that. So we know Dean read exactly 573 minutes. Take a look at the two estimates. Our estimate when we rounded to the nearest 10 for each addend was 570. Wow, that was really close. Only 3 off from the actual answer, right? Rounding to the nearest 10 gives you a more accurate, a closer estimate. Look at our hundreds. 600. That's pretty close to 573. I know that's actually 27 off, so it's a little further away than our other estimate, but it's still pretty close. Either way, our estimates were close to our exact answer. And so down here where it says, was your estimate close? You need to go back and look at your estimate and say, hey, is it close? And if it is, then you're probably on the right track with your addition. If, for some reason, we had come up with an answer of 273 and we looked at our estimates, that would be a good sign, a warning flag saying, hey, I think you may have made a mistake somewhere. And that's why estimates are really helpful. It lets us know if our actual calculations are on the right track. So your job today is going to be to round each addend to either the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. A couple of them will tell you what to round it to, and in the word problem, you get to choose. Then you'll find the exact answer, the actual answer, and you will compare the two to see if they're close. Good luck. Let me know if you need any help.